After this slanting cross oath, Mar Thoma I, who was ordained bishop by 12 priests till Mar Thoma V, governed the Putankur community. But there is no proof that Mar Thoma I received the sacred ordination. Mar Thoma VI was known under the name Dionysios I. He received all sacred orders according to church regulations and ruled the community from 1761 to 1808. From 1808 to 1815, 3 bishops guided this group. The sovereignty of Britain was established here in 1792. The Anglican missionaries associated with the Putankur community and began to cooperate with them. The missionaries decided to effect a total change throughout Malankara. The Bishop of Putankur then convened a synod in Mavelikara in 1836 and stopped all relations with the Anglican missionaries. Approximately 6,000 Syrians at that time had joined with the CMS. Thus, the Protestant Church took its origin here. With the Synod of Mavelikara, the Putankur community became close to the Jacobites and decided in the Synod that the teachings and faith and the order of the Jacobite Church belonged to them. Many priests and faithful in the Jacobite Church favored the CMS ideas under the leadership of Abraham Malpan. He sent his nephew, Deacon Mathan, to Antioch to receive the order of the high priest from the Antiochian Patriarch in 1842. The deacon returned with proper testimonials in 1843 and took the name Matthews Mar Athanasios. Mar Athanasios won the lawsuit in the tug-of-war for authority between the then Metropolitan of Malabar, Mar Dionysios, and the new bishop, Matthews Mar Athanasios. He took the reign as Malankara Metropolitan in 1853. Puligotal Mar Dionysios, who was the successor of Mar Dionysios I, invited the Antiochian Patriarch, Patros III, to Kerala and convened a synod in 1876. The Malankara Church was divided into 7 dioceses, and Matthews Mar Athanasios was expelled from the church. Thus, Puligotal Mar Dionysios became the Metropolitan of Malankara. With this synod, the Putankur community of Malankara came under the Jacobite Patriarch and legally accepted the name the Jacobite Church. Thomas Mar Athanasios, son of Abraham Malpan, whom Matthews Mar Athanasios ordained bishop, conducted a lawsuit against the Jacobite Church, and having failed, left everything, and he came to Maraman and settled down in 1889. Later on, he gathered his followers as a new group and called this group the Mar Thoma Church. Puligotal Mar Dionysios appointed Vattascheril Mar Dionysios as his successor in 1909. The then Patriarch Abdullah at Antioch ordained Mar Dionysios and Paulos Mar Kurlos as bishops in 1908 and sent them over to Kerala. There were 2 patriarchs in Antioch, Patriarch Abdullah and Abded Mashiha, who was expelled from the reign of the church by the Sultan. Abded Mashiha settled down in Ir Abdis. The Christians in this place accepted him as their patriarch. Patriarch Abdullah wanted the spiritual and temporal authority of the Malankara Jacobite Church in writing. The Metropolitan of Malankara, Vattascheril Mar Dionysios, and a group of people did not agree with this total control. Patriarch Abdullah excommunicated Vattasseril Mar Dionysios in 1911 and appointed Paulos Mar Kyrillos, who signed the contract as Metropolitan of Malankara. Those who accepted the Patriarch fully were called the Baba Kakshi, belonging to the group of the Patriarch. Those who accepted the Patriarch only as the spiritual leader were known as the Metran Kakshi, the group of people belonging to Metropolitan Vattasseril Mar Dionysios. Thus, the Jacobite community of Kerala was divided into two in 1911. To establish a Catholicate with independent power and to annul the excommunication of Mar Dionysios, Father P.T. Givargis corresponded with Patriarch Abded Mashiha of West Asia. The Patriarch Abded Mashiha reached Kerala in 1912 and annulled the excommunication of Mar Dionysios and established the Catholicate at Niranam Church and installed Murimattam Mar Ivanios as the first Catholicos in 1912. The Metropolitan Party, or Metran Kakshi, came under the Catholicate, which is known as the Malankara Orthodox Church, and those who remained attached to the Patriarch Abdullah were known as Baba Kakshi, or the Malankara Jacobite Church. The dispute that rose between these two groups continues even today. The end of the conflict came about in 2017, when the Supreme Court declared that the Jacobite Syrian Church of Kerala cannot be a part of the Malankara group any longer, but they can be an independent church or disband and join the Orthodox Church. The leader of the Baba Kakshi, or Patriarchal Party, was Paulos Mar Kyrillos, who was ordained bishop along with Mar Dionysios at West Asia in 1908. Vattasseril Mar Dionysios was head of the Metropolitan Party. Each party owned a Malankara Metropolitan and a Malankara Association, a priest trustee and a lay trustee. The division of Puthankor as Jacobite and Orthodox created confusion about who owned the interest deposit. The court decision of 1923 was favorable to the Baba Kakshi group, or the Jacobite Church. Vattasseril Mar Dionysios went to West Asia to meet the Jacobite Patriarch Elijah to establish unity, but this resulted in no positive outcome. Therefore, he submitted a review petition to the interest deposit lawsuit. Paulos Catholicos passed away in 1913, and his successor was installed at the Niranam Church in 1925. Metran Kakshi Father P.T. Givargis was ordained as Bishop Mar Ivanios of Bethany, and then ordained as the fourth Catholicos Metropolitan, and 5 other bishops were ordained in the Metropolitan Party. In 1928, the court decision was favorable to Mar Dionysios. The growth of the Malankara Church was delayed by the excommunication of Vattasseril Mar Dionysios by the Patriarch, the establishment of the Catholicate in 1912, and the lawsuit of the interest deposit. Father P.T. Givargis, principal of the MD Seminary, wanted to free the Malankara community from the jurisdiction of the Antiochian Patriarch to establish peace and renovation in the church. He was introduced to different theological and prominent educated people from the world while working at Serampore, and realized that religious institutions should focus more on helping communities and spreading the gospel rather than being in conflict. The establishment of the Catholicate, starting religious order for men in Mundamala of Rani Perunad in 1919, and another one for women in Tirumulampuram of Tiruvilla in 1920 under the name of Bethany Religious Orders are some initial steps. The principles of these orders were prayer and ascetic life, which created a spiritual revival in people. Other institutions that were started by Father P.T. Givargis are the Bethany Press, Bethany Magazine, and Bethany Churches as renovatory movements. Father P.T. Givargis was ordained Bishop of Bethany in 1925 and made Metropolitan of Bethany in 1929. The Putankur community made various unsuccessful efforts from Marthoma I to Marthoma VI, even after the Slanting Cross Oath in 1653, to reunite with the Mother Church. In 1923, Vattashiril Mar Divanyasios had visited the Syrian Catholic Metropolitan of Baghdad and inquired about the possibility for reunion. Mar Divanyasios received a letter supporting reunion from Ephraim Ramani, the Antiochian Syrian Catholic Patriarch. Mar Divanyasios invited Baselios Givargis Catholicos, Givargis Mar Gregorios, and Mar Ivanios of Bethany to discuss reunion efforts. The synod held in Parumala entrusted Mar Ivanios officially the reunion steps and correspondence with Patriarch Ramani. To establish peace in the Malankara Church, Mar Ivanios recognized that reunion with the ancient Catholic Church is needed. Mar Ivanios submitted the first petition to the Apostolic See of Rome through Father Ribera with two conditions. First, to preserve the ancient rites and customs, and second, to have a synod in which each bishop should have authority of jurisdiction of Malankara Syrians. The decision of the litigation of the interest deposit came to be favorable to Metran Kakshi in 1928, which led to the retraction of many who supported the Synod of Parumala. The sanction for the reunion was obtained from Rome on August 20, 1930. Mar Ivanios and Mar Theophilus, having accepted the divine invitation for reunion, made preparation for reunion. Mar Ivanios, Mar Theophilus, and 20 monks left everything they had in their mother church. Amid much opposition and suffering, the reunion took place on September 20, 1930. Mar Ivanios and Mar Theophilus made their declaration of faith before Dr. Benzinger, the Bishop of Quaylon, in the presence of Mar Kalasheri. Mar Ivanios visited Pope Pius XI in Rome in 1932 and submitted to him the petition for the institution of the hierarchy, with Trivandrum as the archdiocese and Tiruvilla as its suffragan diocese. On June 11, 1932, the Malankara Catholic hierarchy was officially declared through the Apostolic Constitution Christo Pastorium Principis, which gave legal membership to the Malankara Church in the Universal Church, and the Church was instructed to preserve its Antiochian tradition. Mar Ivanios was appointed as the Archbishop of Trivandrum, and Mar Theophilus the Bishop of Tiruvilla. Today, the Church has grown the synodal structure. The head of the Church is known as the Major Archbishop Catholicos, and there are now over 500,000 faithful and 12 eparchies, with 2 archeparchies. As a result of the missionary activities of the Portuguese, many people became Christians. In the Catholic Church of India, there are 3 liturgies. and as of 2018, India has 174 dioceses, of which 132 are Latin, 31 Syro-Malabar, and 11 Syro-Malankara dioceses. All three of these churches fall under the supremacy of the Pope and accept the Catholic faith and morals, and are in unity with the Universal Church. Each church has its own liturgy, spirituality, theology, and particular heads of the individual church. The missionaries were unable to understand the Malankara Church and the Syrian liturgy, and the ignorance of the various rites and liturgies led the missionaries to force the Latin Church to the countries they colonized. The services rendered by the Latin missionaries in the field of education, art, literature, culture, knowledge, and service for the sick are inestimable and unparalleled.